What if your kid turns out to be like you? Why are you like this? Have you ever thought of hurting yourself? Have you been abandoned due to your height? Today we are with Aynur Yıldırım on Can't Ask. She is a public employee and also works as a stage actor as a hobby. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. My name is Aynur Yıldırım. I am originally from Ağrı. I work in the public sector. I also do theater as a hobby. Whenever I have time, I try to work one-on-one with certain disability organizations.
Pygmy, little person, or midget? Which of these terms do you prefer to be used?
Little people. That's the most correct one.
Have you ever had dreams and goals that you couldn't fulfill because you are a little person?
When you look at it, I can't do some sports. It's not a goal, but I would like to do it, or I would like to play a musical instrument. I can't do it because my arm or hand is not fit for it. It's not a very big goal for me, but sometimes I wish I could play a musical instrument.
Why are you like this?
The reason I am like this is because of inbreeding. My parents are each other's cousins. The medical term for our disability is achondroplasia. There are different types of achondroplasia. For example, some people have normal hands and feet, but they have short stature. Some people have a normal upper part and they have a small lower part. Some can be corrected with surgery and their height can be increased, but in some cases it is not possible. There are children born with achondroplasia to healthy adult parents without consanguineous marriage. I heard it in a radio show. The doctor himself said this. He said that this disease will become more widespread in the future, and its varieties will increase due to global warming and malnutrition.
Can you talk about what kind of difficulties you experience on a daily basis, living in a world created for tall people as a little person?
Most importantly, we cannot use the banks.
ATMs?
ATMs are quite high. When we have to use the ATM, we usually go to the mall. And then we experience certain difficulties in shopping for clothes. They are always designed to be worn by adults and tall people. The clothes designed for a 38-year-old adult woman do not usually fit me. There are so many things. For instance, shoes or bags. We are not taken into consideration. Or when we are, the products are very expensive.
So do you dress from the children's section?
Yes, usually I wear 8-year-olds' clothes. I buy my pants from the adult section and I shorten the length, but I buy the tops from the children's section.
How tall are you?
128. When I wear heels, I'm 130 or 135.
What do you think about having children? What if your child is like you?
I'm achondroplastic. The man I was going to marry became disabled later in life, not from birth. I am a genetic carrier. He is not a carrier. If the child turns out to be like me, nowadays, there has been a lot of progress in medicine. The state immediately issues reports and starts physical therapy. When you undergo physical therapy or use certain medications, your height reaches 1.40. When you are 1.40, you are not considered disabled. However, I can say that the probability of my child turning out to be like me is 10 or 15%. Because I am not marrying a disabled person like me, or not a carrier. Only I am the carrier. Because the person I married became disabled later, he is not a carrier.
Have you ever been abandoned because of your height?
No, I have not. On the contrary, they say I draw their attention, but there are also people who are curious about me. But sometimes I don't think their intentions are good.
So what are these people curious about? These people that you mentioned, do they have something like a fetish?
It goes like this. He knows that I am small. When he approaches me, he immediately says, "You're very attractive. Do you want to go out?" But it doesn't make sense. After a certain period of time, you can sense what they are thinking and what they are curious about. But there is nothing to be curious about. We have all the normal things a woman has. We may be small, but it looks very different to them.
Have you ever faced harassment because you are a little person?
For example, when I get on the bus, I hold on to the handles. One time I experienced something that I will never forget. Someone was touching my hand. He was really touching my hand, and the vehicle was crowded. At first, I thought it was a child. Maybe I drew his attention because I was small. When I looked at him, I saw that it wasn't a child, and it was an adult doing this. He was trying to touch my hand, my fingers, doing weird things. And when I looked directly at his face in order to confront him, he was trying to carry on as if he was doing nothing wrong.
Have you ever been denied a job, entry to a place, or have you ever been discriminated against in any way because of your height?
Of course, when I didn't pass the university exam, my job search took a very long time. I registered with the employment agency. I had scheduled job interviews. I was preparing very well. I always call the company the day before in order to confirm my interview date and hour. When I arrive there, they look at me directly and say that they don't need any staff because looks are important for them. The work I'm going to do is not important for them. I've been in arguments during such job interviews, and security had to escort me out.
So can you tell me about one of these incidents? I mean, the one that affected you the most, or you reacted, or you got a very unpleasant reaction.
Let me tell you something like this. I got 6 to 7 addresses from the agency again. One of those addresses was in Üsküdar. I took a taxi to arrive early, and I started to wait. The lady doesn't invite me in even though she sees me in the window. It's past my meeting time, and she still won't invite me. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore. I said I had an appointment. She said, "We don't need staff right now, but if you leave your CV, I will recommend you to my friends." But the agency had already sent her my CV. And she asks me this: "What kind of a job can you even do here?" In order to avoid paying a penalty, they say, "Look, I invited a disabled person. We had an interview, but she wasn't the best candidate." And they let it slide. Since they don't want to work with disabled people, they always say that we lack a certain quality, and they send us away, saying that we are not the right match.
Do little people usually make friends and build relationships with each other? Do you isolate yourself from other people?
I am friends with all kinds of people, different people from all walks of life, but my friends who are like me usually never go out. When they hang out with people like them. They always meet in associations. They go to associations where there are disabled people. They don't go and sit in public spaces. Because they are not at peace with themselves, they hang out with people like themselves. And this is not a good thing. When they mingle with other people, they say they are adults, they are healthy. But we are disabled, let's sit with the disabled. They think like that.
What do you think about positive discrimination, especially in upbringing, in the family?
I never had the support of my parents, whether in my school life or in something more simple like shopping for clothes, but especially in my school life. When I needed to buy books, they told me to go and buy them myself. Or when I bought a tracksuit, they would say, "Go and fix it yourself." Because tracksuits are not the right size for me, I need to make them smaller. They would say, "Go find a tailor yourself." I used to buy my books 2 at a time, bring them home, hold them with my feet, and cover them. Because they wouldn't cover them, they would tell me to do it myself. Or if I needed an official document, they would say, "Go get it yourself." But unlike me, things were always handed to my friends on a silver platter. They would take the shuttle. I never used the shuttle. For example, my bag would be quite heavy when I was commuting. They wouldn't carry it. They would say someone would help you there. I had to commute like that. But my friends' mothers would call them to ask things like, "Have you eaten? Are you sweating?" I never experienced such a thing. My parents would say, "You are going to be okay." I'd say, "I fell." They'd say, "Okay, get up and get it together." They were never there for me. But, they didn't do it on purpose because they wanted me to stand on my own feet.
Have you ever thought of harming yourself because of your disability?
I have never thought of such a thing because of my disability or because of my illness. But I was faced a question like this. I was asked why I was born into this world by this person. The person who asked me this was a girlfriend of mine who was studying at a private university, living in a very nice campus, and in a very good financial situation. I told her that I would feel myself very lucky if I had this kind of education and stayed in such a campus, in such a place. When I asked her the same question, she said, "No, I am not happy. I wish I hadn't been born." She expected the same answer from me, but I said, "I am glad I was born. I am glad to be here."
So how do you do your errands at home? Because houses are built for tall people.
Let me tell you this. The kitchens of the newly built houses are not very high. I have my own little stool. I am the one who uses the kitchen the most at home. I do my own cooking and everything. I do all my work with the help of the stool. Because the new kitchens that are being built now are not very high, we can also use the toilet or the sink very easily. But when you compare it to old buildings, we cannot use anything in old buildings. We can have the interior designed. It makes our lives easier, but this also depends on one's financial situation. If you have the financial means, you can do it.
What if you do not have the means or you cannot afford it?
Those who don't have financial means cannot do anything by themselves. They constantly ask people for things. Can you bring me this, bring me that? They even ask for water. Okay, we may be small, but we cannot punish the people that we live with for it. Because they also have a social life. When we constantly expect things from them, they become aggressive. Because we become dependent on them.
There are some houses that are marketed as disabled friendly, but are they really suitable for the disabled?
When we look at the advertisements or when we go to a house marketed as suitable for the disabled, the ramp is not at the right size or angle to begin with. Let alone the ramp, sometimes you cannot even get on the elevator because it is too small. When someone on a wheelchair enters, they cannot turn around. The elevators are not of a certain size. Not all of our friends who use wheelchairs can use their arms. We have friends paralyzed from the neck down, in wheelchairs. When they get on the elevator, they cannot press the button. That's why someone approaches them, or how should I put it, people violate their personal space to press the button.
If there is anyone who wants to get more detailed information about this issue, or who wants to cooperate, or who wants to help Ms. Aynur and her future husband with a truly disabled-friendly house, it can be a construction company or a contracting company. You can always reach us at the email address in the description box below. You act in children's plays.
Yes.
How long has it been?
I've been acting for almost 8 years. I met this group by chance. They had sold out their tickets and everything, but one of the actors was missing. When I met them by chance, I felt sorry for them. I said, okay, I'll do it. Normally, I am someone who hates children. But I acted in the play and they saved the day. Then I was offered a couple more times. I went 1 or 2 more times, and they expect me to mingle with the children while they are acting in the play. I mean, I hate children and I also hate spending time with them. Believe me when I say this, but my perspective on children completely changed in the 3rd or 4th play because when they first see us, for example, they cannot decide whether they should see me as a little sister, older sister, or a mother, but when we approach them or when we have a one-on-one conversation, it no longer arouses their curiosity like before. They don't turn around and look again. I know that their first glance is a natural thing, so now I get along very well with children, but we cannot explain this to adults. You know, when an adult looks at us, they turn around and look again. They turn back and look again. The 3rd time, I end up answering them. I say, make a photocopy and I'll give it to you if you want, and then they understand. You know, how much longer can you stare?